If you don't mind, I'd like us to continue standing as I invite Ian Haywood to give an opening prayer.
Pleasant good morning to all. May we bow our heads in prayer, please. Almighty and most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank thee, dear God, for the assembly of ourselves together. Lord, we thank thee, dear God, for this opportunity, because what you have put in place, oh Heavenly Father, the government ministers, we pray, dear God, that thou would bless them, because they are here to serve us, burgesses and citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. We pray, dear God, that thou would continue to inspire them, oh Heavenly Father. Remember, I bring before thee the Minister of Public Utilities. We pray, dear God, that thou would strengthen him and give him, O Heavenly God, the grace and the courage to continue to execute for the benefit of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And, O Heavenly God, I bring our MP, our indefatigable Camille Robinson-Regis. We pray, dear God, that thou would continue to strengthen her, because you know she's doing a great work on behalf of our burgesses. Continue to bless us, and at the end of this ceremony, it may serve its purpose. We ask it all in thy name, for Christ's sake. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Haywood. You may all be seated. Thank you for waiting for me to say that. I am Ruth Osman Rose. I work at the Ministry of Public Utilities, and I am honored and happy to be your MC this morning. The Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, Minister of Public Utilities, the Honorable Camille Robertson-Regis, Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney and Minister of Housing and Urban Development, the Honorable Esmond Ford, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, the Honorable Penelope Beckles, Minister of Planning and Development, Kwasi Robinson, Chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Councillors of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Karina Coburn, Country Representative for the Inter-American Development Bank, Trinidad and Tobago, Gilroy Lewis, Sector Specialist, Water and Sanitation, IDB, Ravindra Nanga, Chairman of WASA, Sherlyn Shepard, Acting CEO of WASA, members of the WASA Management and Project Teams, Feng Kiao. I am hoping that I'm pronouncing Mr. Kiao's name correctly. If I'm not, please feel free to tell me. And representatives of Sinohydro Corporation, lead contractor Fazir Khan, representatives of Alpha Engineering and Design, representatives of the beneficiary communities, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. That is quite an assembly of guests. And we are here to commission a project that will not only serve over 17,000 people, but that will also set the pace for what Trinidad and Tobago intends to do as it relates to wastewater treatment and management. This is a pivotal moment in our history, and we are so happy that you're here to share it with us. I will now invite Mr. Ronald Ramkalawan, Senior Manager of Operations South Central, to give us a project overview.
The Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, Minister of Public Utilities, the Honorable Camille Robinson-Regis, Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney and Minister of Housing and Urban Development, the Honorable Esmond Ford, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, the Honorable Penelope Beckles, Minister of Planning and Development, Karina Cockburn, Country Representative, Inter-American Development Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, Gilroy Lewis, Sector Specialist, Water and Sanitation, IDB, Ravindra Nanga, Chairman of the Water and Sewerage Authority, Archison Wells, Deputy Chairman of the Water and Sewerage Authority, and members of WASA Management and Project Teams, Fen Kwao, and representatives of Sinohydro Corporation Limited, that's the lead contractor, Daniel Fafa, and representatives of Alpha Engineering and Design, supervising engineer, representatives of the beneficiary communities, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is my esteemed pleasure to welcome you to the opening ceremony of the new Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant. The accomplishment of the construction of this brand new asset at the center of the Trincity sewer catchment is something the authority takes great pride in. This new modern facility has been designed and constructed to safely and effectively treat all wastewater generated within the greater Trincity area and environs, with considerations for some future expansion of the catchment. It has been outfitted with international industry-leading equipment, 100% standby power, and high level of redundancy of equipment and process elements to ensure an extremely reliable system. There is an on-site workers' quarters and control room where operators can perform basic laboratory tests for the monitoring of water quality parameters, with full support being rendered from the authority's central quality control department. Similarly, major mechanical and electrical maintenance will be undertaken by the Northeast Asset Maintenance Department. Right there, the plant is outfitted with a SCADA system that ties all the processes together. Achieving the realization of this facility, what we see here today, did not happen overnight. In fact, significant efforts were expended from conceptualization to planning and design, and finally to construction, testing, and commissioning. With respect to financing, the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago received a loan totaling $50 million from the IDB under Loan 2600 towards the cost of the wastewater infrastructure rehabilitation program. These funds were allocated to various projects, one of which is the design and construction of the Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant. After international tendering procedures, Sinohydro Corporation Limited was awarded the contract for the design and construction of the new Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant at a cost of $63.3 million TT, VAT exclusive. Right, the agreed commencement date was the 1st of October 2019, with an original contract duration of 24 months and 12 months defects liability period. A corresponding contract for the provision of construction supervision services was awarded to local firm Alpha Engineering and Design 2012 Limited. To provide further background to these works, it should be noted that prior to this project, there was an old Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant that was first constructed in 1965. The original facility was an activated sludge plant located off the Churchill Roosevelt Highway, approximately 500 meters east of the then Norris Deonorine Northern Wholesale Market, which we now recognize as Namdefco Makoya Market. So this very site. Over the course of time, with the increasing population and more stringent treatment regulations, the original wastewater treatment plant eventually became incapable of properly treating the influent and exhibited a lack of treatment processes being in an operational state, which unfortunately resulted in a poor quality effluent. As such, WASA sought to construct a new Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant to accommodate the additional flows from adjacent areas in Trincity. The new area encompasses part of the El Dorado catchment and consists of numerous housing developments, including but not limited to El Dorado Gardens, Peachtree, La Coropita, Paradise Gardens, East West, and La Goya, just to name a few. In fact, just yesterday I verified that HGC is on target to deliver additional flows to the new Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant via a new force main that they are constructing by the fourth quarter of 2022. The good thing is WASA is ready to accept these additional HGC flows when they are starting up. Accordingly, the new plant is expected to successfully treat an average dry water flow of 4,304 meter cube per day and a peak flow of 15,800 meter cube by the year 2024. In addition to the wastewater treatment plant site that we see here, the contract also included a complete refurbishment and upgrade works of the existing Trincity residential lift station, inclusive of structural, mechanical, and electrical works, and supply and installation of 882 meters of 300 millimeter diameter ductile iron force main to the new Trincity treatment plant along the verge of the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway to facilitate the intake of the increased peak flows. The contractor, Sinohydro Limited, utilized a trenchless pipeline technology known as horizontal directional drilling to successfully install part of the force main diagonally across the highway in April 2021 near the Orange Grove traffic lights. The existing Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant presently facilitates approximately 7,500 residents, and it is anticipated by the year 2024 the estimated persons to serve will be 17,080. The treatment systems of the Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant includes fine screening, grit removal, biological treatment, followed by secondary clarification, low pressure and high intensity UV disinfection, and sludge management via aerobic digestion and concrete sludge drying beds. Right, this plant exceeds the water pollution rules 2019 and the contract requirements, doing better than the 30 milligrams per liter by BOD and 50 milligrams per liter suspended solids and even the fecal coliform. Right along the way, many people would have played critical roles to the success of this project, and all persons who have contributed to this venture should today feel very proud of this achievement. I take the opportunity to sincerely say thank you. The immense support we receive from the Ministries of Planning and Development, Finance, Works and Transport, and most prominently our line Ministry of Public Utilities to complete this project must be acknowledged. The hard and dedicated work ethic of the main contractor, Sinohydro Corporation Limited, is something that was truly admirable. I mean, when you think about it, this project started in October 2019, right? And who would have known right around the corner we would have the corona pandemic. So some lessons learned from the previous project in Malabar. We wanted to do early procurement, and that's one of the things the project team wanted to do, and that really augured well for the project, because when supply chains were shutting down around the world with the pandemic, our equipment was actually on the seas coming to the site. So we really did well with the procurement. I also like to recognize the dedicated supervision by Alpha Engineering and Design that helped us bring in the project on time. The tireless dedication of effort of the entire WASA team who took on this important task from conceptualization to this expansive system is commendable. Special mention is made to the wastewater project teams currently headed by Mr. Darren Ghazi and the engineers, technicians, administration staff of wastewater projects who have provided daily oversight and planning and construction of the works, which was then spearheaded by myself, Ronald Ram Kalwan, as program manager. We also recognize the Inter-American Development Bank, who provided the funding and support, making the project possible. The Tunapuna, Piaco Regional Corporation, and other state agencies, regulatory bodies, too far to mention here today, but must be thanked. And to everyone here and those responsible for this ceremony, I humbly say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ram Kalwan. Usually, we benefit from projects without understanding the extent of the resources and the work and the collaboration that go into making these things possible. So I'm sure that we all now have a fair idea, maybe just a summary, but a fair idea of what would have gone into this project. And we'd like to thank all who were involved. I would like to invite to the podium the Inter-American Development Bank's country representative for Trinidad and Tobago, Karina Coburn. We would not have been able to have this project without financing and support from the IDB. But of course, Ms. Coburn will tell us more about that. I invite you to the podium.
Good morning. So I always am alarmed when I go early enough in the program to still have to observe all the protocols. Nevertheless, it really is a pleasure for me to be here this morning and acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, Minister of Public Utilities, the Honorable Camille Robinson Regis, MP for Aruka Maloney and Minister of Housing and Urban Development, and most recently, former Governor of the Inter-American Development Bank for Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Esmond Ford, MP for Tunapuna. Nice to meet you, sir. The Honorable Penelope Beckles, Minister of Planning and Development. Mr. Robinson, Chairman of the Tunapuna PRCO Regional Corporation, and councillors of the Tunapuna PRCO Regional Corporation. My colleague Gilroy Lewis, who is the team leader for this loan, which financed this operation. Mr. Nanga, Chairman of WASA, and Mr. Shepard, Acting Chief Executive Officer, WASA. Also, the members of the WASA management and project teams with whom we have worked these many years. So happy to see this being realized today. Also, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Chow and representatives of Sinohydro Corporation, Mr. Khan, representatives of Alpha Engineering and Design, and always happy as well to see representatives of the communities who will benefit from this plant. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The lack of adequate collection and subsequent treatment of wastewater before being discharged into rivers, lakes, wetlands, or the sea negatively impacts water quality and limits the use of these important water resources. This also exacerbates other impacts due to climate change and climate variability. Here in the Caribbean, adequate treatment of wastewater continues to pose significant challenges, as historically this subsector has been underfunded. According to the WHO-UNICEF Joint Monitoring Program, 2015 data at the national level shows that wastewater collected and treated in Barbados was 5%, in Jamaica 8%, and here in Trinidad and Tobago 11%. In fact, wastewater treatment is prominent in the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 6, which states, ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. And this goal seeks to halve the total proportion of untreated wastewater. To achieve the objectives of Goal 6, significantly more investments will be needed. In recognition of this reality, the Inter-American Development Bank has been partnering with the government of Trinidad and Tobago to fund investments in the wastewater sector. These include the loan operation WASA Modernization and Wastewater Infrastructure Rehabilitation Program in the amount of 50 million, which is being executed by WASA. The general objective of the program was to improve the environmental conditions of Trinidad and Tobago by increasing the amount of wastewater collected and treated, and improving efficiency and supporting reforms within WASA. Among the specific objectives of the program were the takeover, refurbishment, upgrade, integration, or decommissioning of malfunctioning wastewater treatment facilities, and the improvement of WASA's wastewater management, operations, and maintenance performance. While the reference loan program was approved in October 2011, which predates many of us in our current role, I understand that there was a significant rescoping in 2017. There have been some significant achievements under the program. These include rehabilitation and expansion of 2 wastewater stabilization ponds, Golden Grove and Bonaccord, and associated collection systems in Southwest Tobago. And as we see before us today, the design and construction of a new wastewater treatment plant here in Trincity. This new Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant has replaced the existing one, which has been decommissioned as it had not been operating efficiently and was undersized to accommodate population growth. The new plant is also strategically located upstream of the Caroni Swamp, which allows for collecting and treating wastewater before it is discharged into the Caroni River system and ultimately reaching the environmentally sensitive Ramsar site. This wastewater treatment plant has been designed to treat an average of 4,304 cubic meters per day of wastewater coming from Trincity Housing Developments, the Trincity Industrial Estate, the El Dorado catchment, and other surrounding areas. The treated wastewater is then discharged into the Aruca River. And so, I'm happy to say that in comparison to the 2015 data from the WHO UNICEF report I mentioned previously, WASA now estimates that 30% of wastewater is collected and treated in Trinidad and Tobago. So TNT is well on its way to achieving the wastewater-related aspects of Goal 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm also very pleased to say that IDB's partnership in this area with the government of Trinidad and Tobago extends beyond the Trincity plant, which will be commissioned today. With this new wastewater treatment plant, coupled with other IDB-financed initiatives, such as the 40 million liters per day Malabar wastewater treatment plant, and the soon-to-be-completed 45 million liters per day San Fernando wastewater treatment plant, the percentage of wastewater collected and treated will further increase. This is significant since the more wastewater we collect and treat, the more we reduce the contamination of water resources and sensitive ecosystems. As I'm sure Minister Gonzalez would agree, we cannot rest because we have completed this plant and are soon to complete others. The sewerage networks must continue to be built out so as to connect many more homes and businesses to the system and to use the plants to their full capacity. Lastly, we must also be open to alternative ways of reusing wastewater that has been treated to a high quality. Potential uses include agriculture, industrial cooling, replenishing stream base flow, and replenishing groundwater aquifers. We at the IDB continue to be here as a partner for Trinidad and Tobago, and we look forward to continuing the strong collaboration to expand wastewater services and the water supply system across the country. Good morning.
Thank you, Ms. Coburn, for giving us some insight into IDB's perspective on this project. We're grateful. I would now like to invite to the podium the Honourable Esmond Ford, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna. The Honourable MP's constituents would be benefiting greatly from this project, along with many other projects that the MPU is leading. Mr. Ford.
Yes, a special good morning to each and everyone. Esmond Ford, the Member of Parliament for Tunapuna and the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Bear with me, colleagues, because to go through the salutations, I will end up having a longer salutations than my actual remarks here this morning. So I will take a page out of my colleague from Jamaica, my colleague from Jamaica from the ADB, and go straight basically to my remarks. Again, as the MP for Tunapuna, this region, which is the Tunapuna Piako region, we are actually in the St. Augustine constituency this morning. But as the sitting Member of Parliament in the Tunapuna Piako region, I take responsibility for anything along the East-West corridor in this instance. So colleagues, water is synonymous with living, but wastewater is also an important aspect, as we would know at the Water and Sewerage Authority. So as the Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, and as mentioned by the previous speakers, there are numerous housing development within this region. We have the El Dorado Gardens, we have the El Dorado Heights, we have the La Coropita, we have La Goya, we have Peachtree, all of them situated along with Vista Heights and others that will benefit from this wastewater treatment plant. So, Mr. Minister, it was in 1965, I learned today, that this initial plant started. 57 years, and again, it's under the People's National Movement that the ground has been turned and we now have an improved new infrastructure. And it said it will give 100% service, 24/7 operations, workstation on site, and expansion is possible as a result. So let's give the Minister a round of applause again, along with the Water and Sewerage Authority, along with all the workers, because without the workers at the Water and Sewerage Authority, this will not be possible. So as the MP, over 17,000 individuals, residents will benefit from this. And Mr. Minister, just 2 weeks ago, Mr. Sherland can mention to you, and also Mr. Stephen at the Wastewater Director, where we had to wait until 6, 7 o'clock one evening in order for the plant, in order to come up at one of the housing schemes where we had a little sewage problem. And again, I am thankful. I am grateful. So again, water is precious, but wastewater also need to be taken care of. Because if we do not take care of the wastewater, we know of the various problems can exist. I would like to thank the representative from the IDB. Right? Again, we are thankful. Trinidad and Tobago will always be around in order to benefit, and we are willing to continue closely working with you all in order to maximize. In the east, we have set the trend. I understand that we're going to San Fernando, we are going to Arima, and we look forward as the trendsetters in this Tunapuna Piako region. Again, as the MP for the area, I am thankful and grateful in order for this wastewater plant, because I know that's one aspect of some of the complaints that I'll be receiving as a Member of Parliament. So again, thank you. Thanks to the media for coming, and thanks to all the individuals. And most important, the Water and Sewerage Authority employees who I work very closely with in order to ensure that services are provided within not only the Tunapuna constituency, but within the Tunapuna Piarco region. Again, thanks to all the groundwork that would have been led by the former Minister of Planning, Minister Camille Robinson-Regis, because I know she has been one who would have been spearheading these operations, and also for the new minister who's coming into the planning portfolio, Minister Penny Gonzalez. But to you, my colleague, what I said? I said Penelope Gonzalez? I didn't realize. My apologies. One family, Penelope Beckles. And to you, right, my colleague, Marvin. I can call him Marvin. Right? Good work. I know your plate is full. And again, as the member in this part of the region, I am always here to assist. Thank you for the opportunity, and do have a wonderful rest of the morning. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Minister Gonzalez said one family. Exactly. These are the men and women who, they talk about the crown sitting heavy on the head that has to wear it. These are the men and women who have to account to constituents and residents and their communities. So we're happy that you're happy, and we're going to keep working, right, Minister Gonzalez? I would like to invite the Honorable Camille Robinson-Regis, Member of Parliament for Arouca Maloney and Minister of Housing and Urban Development, to the podium.
Thank you very kindly, Madam Chair. My colleague, the Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, Minister of Public Utilities and Member of Parliament for Lopino Bonnet West, the Honorable Esmond Ford, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna and Speaker of the House of Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. I think whatever it is that Esmond had, apparently it's catching. So excuse me. The Honorable Penelope Beckles Gonzalez Robinson, Member of Parliament for Arima and Minister of Planning and Development, Councillors of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Councillors Leacock, Austin, Watley, and Mora. I'm not sure that there are any others from the corporation here. And those 4 councillors are all in the Arouca Maloney constituency. Mrs. Karina Natish Coburn, country representative for the IDB, with whom I have a very close relationship. Mr. Gilroy Lewis, sector specialist of the IDB for the water and sanitation sector. Chairman Ravindra Nanga, acting CEO Mr. Sherlin Shepherd, representatives of Sino-Hydro Corporation, representatives of Alpha Engineering and Design, representatives of the beneficiary communities, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. I am indeed very pleased to be here to participate with my colleagues in such a momentous occasion, because for us in the constituency of Arouca Maloney, this is an important development, because this wastewater treatment plant will not only serve areas in the Tunapuna and St. Augustine constituencies, but it will also serve areas in the Arouca Maloney constituency, and I'm very honored and pleased to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer my sincerest congratulations to my cabinet colleague, the Minister of Public Utilities, to the board and management of WASA, and to the staff of WASA, and to the IDB staff whose combined efforts have resulted in bringing us to the point of being able to commission this state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant today. There are times in the development of any country where extraordinary challenges demand an equally compelling response. And since August 2020, this country has had to witness an exponential amount of ministerial and government energy being expended on the operations, on the operations of the beleaguered and much maligned WASA. Countless hours have been spent examining its operations and working on a way forward that would redound ultimately to the benefit of the citizens of this great republic. And I stress this great republic because even from what our country representative of the IDB said, that we are moving assiduously to a 30% wastewater treatment capacity for Trinidad and Tobago, it is clear that Trinidad and Tobago is not falling apart. Ladies and gentlemen, today's commissioning of this wastewater treatment plant is another small victory on the journey of this great republic. Coming on the heels of what has been a phenomenal success, that is the Community Water Improvement Project, which is clearly bringing water into previously underserved communities. It is a wind of change in WASA, and I congratulate my colleague, the Minister of Public Utilities, the Chairman and Board of WASA, the management and staff of WASA, and I ask them to continue along this path of progress for not only for WASA, but for Trinidad and Tobago. I thank the IDB for the confidence that they continuously place in the work of the government of Trinidad and Tobago and in the work of the staff of various ministries and the private sector in Trinidad and Tobago. Because without that confidence, the IDB would certainly not work as closely as they have with us. And I thank Karina for that confidence that she and her team have continuously placed in Trinidad and Tobago and the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as a Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney, I have had numerous complaints about issues surrounding wastewater treatment. And so, in many instances where there have been private developments and a number of developers have in fact left the issues of wastewater treatment abandoned. And so the government in many instances has had to take on an additional burden that they did not anticipate. And so as we develop HDC developments, and these areas have a number of HDC developments and also private development, it has been a question of taking over these wastewater treatment plants that have been left abandoned by private developers, and also a question of the government maintaining and doing preventative maintenance on our own governmental treatment plants. So it is for this reason that as a Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney and also as the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, that a commissioning such as this is of extreme significance for me as a representative of the government and for the persons whom I represent as their Member of Parliament. I thank the IDB for their funding assistance and for the work that WASA diligently undertook to ensure that there was an upgrading and expanding of the capacity of the Trincity Wastewater Treatment Plant. My colleague, the Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, spoke about the number of complaints that he has received about wastewater and effluent treatment. And I am sure that I speak on behalf of the councillors that they also receive those types of complaints. And we know with this modernized plants, those complaints will become a thing of the past. And I thank you for that. So today's commissioning ceremony is important for a number of reasons, not least of which is the very tangible demonstration of the whole of government approach to the problems affecting the ordinary citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And I repeat, it highlights the confidence which the IDB continues to repose in the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago under the astute leadership of our Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I just want to indicate that this project represents not only that tangible project that I have spoken about, but it also represents the realization of both the lofty ambitions of the government's Vision 2030, and as was said by our country representative, it also represents the attainment of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Mrs. Coburn spoke about Goal 7, but I also want to talk about our goal, our fifth pillar in the Vision 2030, which is placing the environment at the center of social and economic development, and Goal 11 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. This plant that we commissioned today is moving us in that direction. I know the constituents of Aruka Maloney and Tunapuna who stand to benefit from today's commissioning will be ecstatic at the vastly improved service they will now enjoy. And once again, I offer my sincere congratulations to my cabinet colleague, the Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, WASA, and the IDB. And I thank you for the courtesy of your attention. Thank you, and may God continue to bless us all.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for bringing that home once again, for informing us and making us aware of how this project and other projects touch the lives of the people that you represent. I would now like to invite to the podium the man who has been mandated to bring oversight to the public utilities sector. We work with him in the MPU, and we can tell you that it isn't an easy job by any stretch of the imagination. I'm selling you out, sorry. But he handles it with passion and industriousness. And so I'd like to invite the Honorable Marvin Gonzalez.
Thank you very much, Ruth. I thought Ruth was going to sell me out and paint me to be a very bad Minister of Public Utilities, but she did not do that. So thank you very much, Ruth. So let me get over the formalities and following rather in the footsteps of my colleague, Minister of Housing, I will try to get it correct, as well as the Member of Parliament for Tunapuna. So, the Honorable Camille Robinson Regis, Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney, and Minister of Housing and Development, Urban Development. The Honorable Esmond Ford, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna. The Honorable Penelope Beckles, Minister of Planning and Development and Member of Parliament for Arima. The Honorable Kwesi Robinson, Chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation and councillors of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation. I understand Mr. Mora is here, and Mr. Mora, whilst yes, he's representing part of the Aruka Maloney constituency, he's also representing a significant part of the Lupino Borneo West constituency, so I need to remind him of that. Mr. Mora, you hear that, right? Karina Coburn, country representative of the Inter-American Development Bank. Mr. Gilroy Lewis, sector specialist of the water and sanitation of the IDB. Mr. Ravindra Nanga, chairman of WASA, as well as the deputy chair of WASA. Mr. Archison Wells, Mr. Shulan Shepherd, acting CEO of WASA, as well as the operations director, Ms. Shaira Ali. Members of the management team of the Water and Sewerage Authority, representative of Sino-Hydro, lead contractor, representative of Alpha Engineering and Design, the supervising engineer, representatives of the beneficiary communities, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Now it is my pleasure and my honor to be able to stand here as Minister of Public Utilities to commission a project that has far-reaching implications, not just for the communities and areas that it will serve, but for the sustainable development of Trinidad and Tobago. The Trincity Wastewater plant, as you're well aware now, was over half a century old and in dire need of upgrades, and would make it functional while also bringing it in line with the 21st century standards. By successfully implementing this project, the Water and Sewerage Authority, under the guidance of the Ministry of Public Utilities, and with financing from the Inter-American Development Bank, is heralding our intention to, bit by bit, project by project, transform the water and wastewater sector in Trinidad and Tobago, a sector that adequately meets the growing demands of the population while undergirding the thrust towards national sustainable development goals as outlined by the United Nations. One of those goals, SDG 6, speaks directly to water and sanitation, and more significantly involves reducing the amount of untreated wastewater into the environment by 50%. That can only be accomplished through the establishment of wastewater treatment plants across Trinidad and Tobago, something that we intend to do. Already, long-term plans have been laid for the development of large, centralized wastewater treatment facilities in Maloney, as well as in Chaguanas. And I must say that the plans for the Maloney wastewater treatment plant is completed, and we will move towards project execution very soon. But why is it necessary, ladies and gentlemen, to treat our wastewater instead of just letting it flow into the waterways? The benefits are many and cover broad areas of concerns for public health and the environment to agriculture and industry. I will highlight a few of these. But first, let me share some information that we should bear in mind moving forward. The total amount of wastewater treated and discharged at the Malabar, Beetham, San Fernando, Trincity, and Tobago plants is over, guess what? 22 million imperial gallons of water. I would like you to keep that figure in mind as we discuss the benefits of wastewater treatment and reuse. Wastewater treatment systems are specifically designed to prevent fecal sludge and other forms of waste or pollution that can spread diseases from flowing back into our waterways. And in so doing, they improve not just the water quality, but the air quality as well. This translates to lower rates of waterborne diseases and respiratory ailments. It is a long-established fact that contaminated water can transmit diseases such as diarrhea, cholera, dysentery, typhoid, and polio. In fact, the United Nations Environmental Programme reports that 88% of all diarrheal incidents globally are connected to poor hygiene and drinking of unsafe water. And the World Health Organization estimates that contaminated drinking water causes 500,000 diarrheal deaths each year. Untreated wastewater can also contaminate freshwater reserves. Currently, less than 1% of the world's water is suitable for human use and consumption. To knowingly allow these dwindling reserves to be contaminated through our own actions would be nothing short of tragic. And then there are the ways in which treated wastewater and its derivatives can be reused, thus contributing to what is now called the circular economy. Wastewater sludge, which is the primary byproduct of wastewater treatment, can be used to create additional economic value as a fertilizer in agriculture or as a fuel for incineration. And the treated wastewater itself can be reused in multiple ways. For example, in Chile, treated wastewater is used to irrigate thousands of hectares of prime agricultural lands and to produce high-value crops. And India has emerged as one of the largest users of treated wastewater for industrial purposes. Another use for treated wastewater that many of us may not be aware of is aquifer recharge. This process involves intentionally recharging aquifers with treated wastewater, and it can be used to address water shortages as part of an arsenal of sustainable water resource management practices. If implemented here, aquifer recharge would enable our wells to operate at optimum levels, thus improving the reliability of our water supply and ensuring its sustainability moving forward. And if the idea of reusing treated wastewater in any way makes you nervous, allow me to allay your concerns. Can I ask Mr. Ford to just take this jar of water for me? So you can show them. So this is treated wastewater. So when we talk about wastewater reuse and building a modern wastewater treatment plant, it is actually treating, no, don't drink it, treating wastewater, bringing that quality of water to this standard. And as opposed to just dumping this water into our waterways and our water courses, this water can be used to support our industrial plants, our agricultural sector, as well as recharging our underground aquifers. We will not be the first to use treated wastewater like this. Now just imagine, a short while ago I told you, all the plants that are now treating wastewater, including this brand new plant, they are now treating wastewater to this quality. And what can we do with 22 imperial million gallons of water of this quality? In Singapore, for example, 40% of the water supply to the population is reused wastewater. If, in fact, Singapore's water reuse and recycled wastewater product entitled NE Water has been so successful that by 2060, it is expected to supply 55% of the country's water needs. So by 2060, Singapore water sustainability and water production will come from reused wastewater. Why are these countries utilizing such a resource? I think the better question would be, why not? Fresh water continues to be a diminishing resource all over the world, even as demand increases. And in many countries, population growth and industrial development are placing unprecedented pressure on water and wastewater sectors. Already, more than 2.1 billion people lack access to safe water. And with 22 million imperial gallons of treated wastewater like this in Trinidad and Tobago being discharged by WASA's wastewater treatment plant, this can now be used to support our agriculture sector, our industrial sector, our aquifer recharge, as the case may be. And if we can only do that, support these sectors by highly treated wastewater, it means that over 15 or 20 million gallons of potable water can now become available to support our schools, our hospitals, our community centers, and all other public institutions, thereby increasing the availability of water all across Trinidad and Tobago. Take, for example, the East-West Corridor. Over 20 years, so many developments would have taken place on the East-West Corridor, and WASA continues to rely on the same plants and the same wells for 20 years, with expanding population centers. In order to provide these communities with a sustainable water supply, the people of Trinidad and Tobago must, at some point in time, look at the question of wastewater reuse and wastewater recycling to support the many very sectors that I've spoken about. This project, ladies and gentlemen, will directly impact our communities and 5 schools, thus benefiting 17,000 citizens in this catchment. Most of these beneficiaries are already connected to the plant, and others are in the process of being connected. The wastewater treatment plant is monitored and operated, as you would have heard from the engineer, via an operator's room, which includes computer-controlled automated valves and pumps for the entire plant. Of course, none of these benefits to communities and country would have been realized without the involvement of several stakeholders. And so I would like to thank officially the IDB for financing this and other wastewater projects in Trinidad and Tobago. I must also recognize the men and women of the Water and Sewerage Authority for their continued support and hard work, not only on this project, but for the various projects that we are successfully rolling out all across Trinidad and Tobago, impacting hundreds of thousands of our citizens. I would like to thank again the contractor Sino-Hydro Corporation, as well as the project engineer for the work that they have done in successfully bringing this project to completion well within time and within budget. This project, as extensive as it is, just one of the many being carried out by WASA under the auspices of the Ministry of Public Utilities, that will improve and expand its services to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. When all is said and done, ladies and gentlemen, this is our mandate as a government, as members of parliament, as cabinet ministers, to serve our citizens. We look forward to your continued support, and we look further to continued opportunities to continue to serve our citizens. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention. And may God continue to bless Trinidad and Tobago. We are certainly not falling apart, as you would have heard from my ministerial colleague. We will remain focused as a government, as members of parliament, and we will continue to work in the best interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Gonzalez. One of our holy books, just one, says that where there is no vision, the people perish. And Minister Gonzalez has given us some insight. I said one of our holy books, Minister, the way you look at me just now. Minister Gonzalez has given us insight into his vision, the government of Trinidad and Tobago's vision for treatment plants like this and for the water and wastewater sector moving forward. So thank you. We are near the end of the ceremony. I would like to invite Mr. Carl Santana, manager of the wastewater projects, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm tasked with the role of providing the vote of thanks. It's made very easy because every speaker before me also offered vote of thanks, but I have the last role here, so let me perform that. Okay. The Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, Minister of Public Utilities, the Honorable Camille Robinson-Regis, Member of Parliament for Ruka Maloney, and Minister of Housing and Urban Development, the Honorable Esmond Ford, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, the Honorable Penelope Beckles, Honorable Penelope Beckles, Minister of Planning and Development, Tracy Robinson, Chairman, Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Councillors of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Karina Coburn, Country Representative, Inter-American Development Bank, Gilroy Lewis, Sector Specialist, Water and Sanitation IDB, Chairman Ravindra Nanga, Deputy Chairman of the Board of WASA, Sheldon Shepherd, Acting Director, the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Water and Sewage Authority, Director Shaira Ali, Director Operations, other members of the management team, present here from WASA, representative of Sino Hydro Corporation, representative of Alpha Engineering and Designs, the engineers for the project, representative from the beneficiary communities receiving the benefits from this project this morning, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My task here is very simple, it's just to offer voter thanks in relation to the activities this morning. So again, welcome everybody, it's at the end, so we are at the end of the process today. My name is Carl Santana, I'm Manager of Wastewater Projects. I'm also charged as project manager for this project, taking it into its defects liability. So Ronald Ramkalawan, one of the first speakers who would have had the project at the start, kind of passed the baton on to me now. So I have the task of ensuring for the next year the entire project runs seamlessly. Any defects are in fact addressed by the contractor, Sino Hydro Corporation, along with the engineer, Alpha Engineering. Okay, so special thanks to Mr. Hayward, who offered the vote of the prayer this morning. It's always a nice focus to have God at the center, the Lord Almighty at the center of our deliberations. And we want to thank Mr. Ian Hayward for delivering that opening prayer this morning. Special thanks to my employer, the Water and Sewage Authority. Without the authority, we would not be here. I am employed with the authority, so special thanks to all that made that possible, the Water and Sewage Authority. Okay, Chairman, members of management. Special thanks to Mr. Ronald Ramkalawan, Senior Manager Operations South Central now, former project manager of this project. He moved on. Okay, I know the project would have had its challenges implementing it during COVID-19 pandemic. Sino Hydro Corporation out of China and the engineer, Alpha Engineering from Trinidad, a nice blend. Challenges were all worked out. People were called to the task and they delivered. Finally, we have a delivery of a project on time, within budget. Thanks to Ronald and the members of the project management team, right, led by, of course, Darren Ghazi, head of wastewater projects. Special thanks to Ms. Karina Cockburn, country representative of the IDB, and Mr. Gilroy Lewis, sector specialist. Our benefactors on this project, IDB would have provided the funding for this project and continue to support during the project implementation phase, the financing allocation phase, and ensuring that the projects are done according to their objectives. IDB also has in it a continuation where post-project implementation is also monitored. So we continue, as Ms. Coburn indicated, the Southwest Tobago project has been delivered under this loan some 3 years ago. And Gilroy and Company, IDB, sorry, they continue to request the report on the project indicating that it is still continuing to be successfully delivered. Just for the records, these 2 wastewater stabilization ponds in Tobago are delivering the requirement into the environmentally sensitive areas of the Bonaccord and Buku lagoons. Those lagoons are now cleaned up, and from all our monitoring, the plants continue to operate to their design specifications. So that's good news. Honorable Esmond Ford, MP for Tunapuna. Your comments were appreciated. We will continue in the Water and Sewage Authority to provide the services to the burgesses of the communities to ensure that the wastewater, in this particular situation, wastewater collection and treatment is addressed. As the speaker before me indicated, it is a matter of public health. If we do not treat wastewater properly, public health is compromised and the entire environment is compromised. So we will continue at the Water and Sewage Authority to do what we can in delivering those things to people. Honorable Camille Robinson Ridges, Member of Parliament for Ruka. We appreciate your presence here today, and your comments will definitely found favor with us. We will continue to meet the services of the burgesses of there to ensure that we are, in fact, in the Water and Sewage Authority, meeting the objectives of the community. Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, our Minister. Your leadership has been definitely one that we are mirroring in the Water and Sewerage Authority. We appreciate your guidance, your firm leadership and astute leadership. We continue to work together with the Ministry of Public Utilities and Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Planning and Development to ensure we deliver the services required by the population of Trinidad and Tobago. We appreciate your presence here this morning at the ceremony and thank you for your guidance. Honorable Penelope Beckles, we appreciate your presence this morning here at this morning ceremony. We appreciate the role that the Ministry of Planning plays in the overall process. The initiation of the IDB loans is, as we all know, is with the Ministry of Planning. Without planning, nothing gets done. It doesn't get through to our Ministry of Public Utilities, and then on to the implementation unit. So planning is pivotal in moving the country forward. We appreciate your guidance, and we'll continue to work together in making it a success. Thank you again. Chrissy Robinson and as Chairman of the Tunapuna MP Regional Corporation and other councillors, we appreciate your presence here this morning, your support in getting through the regulatory requirements. We know that there are a lot of regulatory requirements for a facility of this size and magnitude and scope. We appreciate your support in ensuring that the regulations are in fact complied with. We are now fully approved, right? From PHI go right back, all the clearances are here. So thank you very much for your leadership and ensuring that we are continue to do what is required to successfully deliver our projects. Thanks a lot to the Tunapuna MP Regional Corporation. Chief Executive Officer Shulan Shepherd and the member of the management team, Director Ali and the rest of the team. My lead, my direct supervisor, Darren Ghazi. I recognize also Mr. David Nero here, the rest of the management team. Thank you very much for steering the project in the right direction as a management team. Thank you for your leadership, your oversight, your guidance, and ensuring that the project is delivered on time, within budget, and without scope creep. Thank you again, and we continue to work with you in providing these services through the wastewater unit. Sino Hydro Corporation, thanks for your, this was this was in fact a design build project. So there was some challenges with respect to ensuring that all the designs and Sino Hydro Corporation from China having their designers meet the requirement for our operations. Our engineers on this project, Alpha Engineering, work with the project team to ensure that none of the standards were compromised. There was been language issues, but they were all overcome. Okay? We have a plant that is built to standards that are world class. We have a plant that are built to the requirement that fits all the regulatory rules in Trinidad and Tobago. We have a plant that would have been certified and the documentation would have been sent by IDB and we had a non-objection. So all approvals, both locally as far as the IDB is concerned, were met with Sino Hydro, and we appreciate Sino Hydro's cooperation in ensuring the finalization of this contract. Thanks to Sino Hydro. Our designers on this project, our engineers on this project, Alpha Engineering, led by Fazir Khan. I'm not seeing Mr. Khan here, but I'm recognized Daniel and Kiran and the other persons here this morning. Local contractors, local engineers had the task of, first of all, overcoming that language barrier with the Chinese. They rose to that challenge and overcame that. And then ensuring that our designs, because we insisted from WASA that our designs are sustainable, are standard, and ensure that we want a plant that we could operate. That was translated into action by Alpha Engineering, and we had design meetings and review meetings, several of those. At the end of it, we have a plan that was approved for designs and implemented and built according to specifications. Sino Hydro is here, and they will continue to be here for the next year, overseeing the defects liability. Alpha Engineering is also here and will continue to be on board, monitoring that defects liability. And WASA will have oversight on that process to ensure at the end of the period, 1 year, that the project still has its value, all defects are in fact addressed, and we continue to treat wastewater to the required standard that is as established by the EMA. Thanks to Alpha Engineering. Members of the beneficiary community, thank you, because without your products, we would have nothing to treat. we are beneficial. We are thankful for you. It's part of the cycle. I myself, coming from a water resources background, recognize the cyclic nature of that water. Okay, so it is what you do, we treat and send back out to you in another form in the environment. So as our minister indicated, it's time to think about that, closing the loop on that cycle and having reuse now brought straight to the table. It's something that we are seriously considering, and with the minister's leadership, we will definitely implement in some way. He indicated to you that that is a picture of water from the reuse. At this plant, the reuse water is actually used right now for wetting of the lawns and in part of the process. So instead of using potable water on the plant, we actually use the reuse water. So on this plant, reuse water is used. So we can say we have implemented reuse. So all the landscaping, or in fact the preliminary treatment, which we'll see in a bit, is actually done with reuse water. So we're not using potable water. Yeah? Thanks to the overall design and concept under our CEO and the rest of the management team, we made it happen. Okay? Members of the corporate communication team, Mr. Plenty, and the rest of your team, thanks a lot for your support here this morning. Persons who were responsible for logistics and the media, thanks a lot for being here, Mr. Plenty, and of course the MC, Ruth, right? Thanks a lot for ensuring that we stuck to the programs, stuck to the timelines, ensure that we would have achieved what we set out here to achieve this morning. So with that few words, I want to thank you all for attending the session this morning and wish you all the best in your travels. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Santana. Yes. I noticed that our minister was dressed in a particular way, and I thought, oh yes, tomorrow, Spiritual Baptist holiday. So on behalf of the Ministry of Public Utilities, WASA, and everyone here, we want to wish our brothers and sisters in the Spiritual Baptist community a blessed and holy day tomorrow. Thank you for that reminder, Minister. We have reached the end of our official program. It's a hot day. It's one of those days that remind you that you live on a tropical island. There is water at the back. Feel free to refresh yourselves if necessary. I'd like to thank you all for being here. And I would like to invite the minister's teams, dignitaries, specially invited guests to the compound on my right, on your left, where we will have the unveiling. Thank you so very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.